In this video, I'm going to show you a technique that's helped me avoid blunders when playing games with longer time controls, such as classical time controls, maybe sometimes in rapid, not so much in blitz because it takes a minute to perform this technique and you just probably won't have time. But in the longer time controls, this is a very useful method. It will help you spot blunders that you would have made and avoid them. So I'm going to just go through a popular chess opening and get to a key position where I can show you how to use this technique. Let's look at this position right here, b5, and now let's say we forgot our opening book. The most popular move here is knight d5. Let's say we forgot what the best move was here and we were considering knight d5, and we want to decide if that's a safe move to make. We want to see, does it blunder anything? Okay, so the first thing you look at is, can that piece be attacked from that square? Okay, so we move it here and we can see that there's a capture, and that's an instant attack. Then there's attacks that take one move, like bishop to e6, knight here. We can see that those aren't very significant. So the most important move we want to look at is this knight takes d5, which we want to consider, but we can quickly rule it out because the knight is pinned and black will lose his queen if he makes that move. But we might want to check briefly and see if there's anything very tricky that this, if this knight had a fork of our king and queen, or there was some check where we had to put our queen in the way, there's some openings where something like that happens, then sometimes this is a tricky tactic that'll work. So we're definitely looking at that capture. There's not really any other attacks that we're worried about. So in the attack category, we're safe. Now the next thing we look at is protection. Did we take protection off of anything that was protected back on when the knight was on c3? a2, not significant. e4, that could be significant. It's a central pawn, and we can see that black has a piece attacking it. So that's really, we can identify that as a piece that has lost protection as a consequence of our move. So we want to calculate what happens if black decides to take that pawn. Again, we can see that we have that attack on the queen, and there's nothing tricky that can happen with this knight. Black will just simply lose his queen for no good reason. So, attack, protection. The third thing we look at is routes. I call it routes. There may be a better term for it. It just means lines, files, diagonals, ranks that are opened or closed as a consequence of our move. So first let's look at the lines that were opened as a result of this knight d5 move. We can see there's a diagonal to our king because now black has a check. There's this right here. Okay, that's not really significant. The c2 pawn's nothing to worry about. There is this, along here. So we can identify this check as the most significant route that has now been opened as a consequence of that move. So we want to calculate what happens if queen to a5 check. And I think that is a move. I think that is a book move, but normally bishop d2 is played and white has nothing to worry about. The queen's under attack on that square. Okay. And then we want to consider what routes were closed because of that move. Okay, so this file is now, blocked by the knight. This diagonal is closed now, and we can see that those aren't really relevant. But we do have to check for that. So now let's look at black's response. Let's look at the most popular move, bishop to e7. Now we're going to do the same thing for black. Attack, protection, routes. So what is this bishop attacking that it wasn't attacking before? Nothing immediately, but there is the potential that this bishop here will be attacked if this knight moves somewhere. So the most important moves to look at obviously are captures. Knight takes d5, and then there's knight takes e4. So let's say we don't really think about that bishop attack, and we just play something like bishop e2. Now we got this knight takes d5 move. Bishop's under attack. And this is a common trick in the opening, which our technique could help us spot if we've seen this pattern before, especially. Now bishop takes, and the point is that black can take with the knight. In this line, black has won a piece. Fortunately, white does have, instead of taking the bishop, white has this counterattack on the knight with the queen. So if the bishop is taken, that white takes this knight. Or you can take with the pawn, same thing, counterattack. I'm not sure which move is better, but our technique helped us spot that tactic. So the second question we ask for this move bishop e7 is what squares are protected that weren't protected before. Obviously this knight has protection by a bishop, so that if we were to go knight takes knight, he can take with the bishop. That's really the only significant protection that was gained for black. And then we look at, what squares are not protected anymore, this g7 square. We can't really exploit that. There's no way to really take advantage of the fact that that pawn's undefended. And then finally, we look at routes. And there is a route that was closed. That was the route to the queen. So this knight is no longer pinned. The only other route is that there is now the possibility of castling, so that's something to keep in mind. But the most significant thing is that this knight is not pinned anymore, which leads us to begin looking at places this knight can go. This knight's freed up to move, and there is the possibility perhaps of knight takes e4. That's something to consider. We take, and then the knight takes, I'm not even sure which move is better here. Knight takes e4 when we play that bishop e2 move, or knight takes d5. But our technique has led us to look at these variations. So I hope you find this useful. Try using it in your own games. Maybe it will work for you. I've definitely saved myself from making some blunders using this technique, especially the ones that are only, a few moves ahead. We all have moments of blindness, but this is sort of a methodical way to look at everything and avoid those oversights. So thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more interesting chess-related content posted regularly, and feel free to stick around for a couple minutes and enjoy the rest of this game, which holds the special significance of having the most played opening of all time on LeeChess.org.